Here, I'm actually just going to move this light above me here.
As Adam gets ready there from Basketball Manitoba, you'd think an executive knows what's going on, but he's got a beautiful halo right above his head. Adam Wedlake from Basketball Manitoba joins me. Adam, how are we doing today? Tell me about what's going on in the world of basketball, some updates and some news that we can relate to all of our fans.
Of course, Theo, good to always talk with you. Yeah, it's definitely been the new normal for us. Now we're on month 2 now, or entering the 3rd month even. Of this whole new the shutdown of the amateur sport world amongst everything else that's going on in the world. But yeah, it's definitely been every day, every week's been a new question mark that you try to answer and try to provide some assurances that our sport is still somewhat, I guess, will be ready at some point once the green light comes across. There's a couple of individual sports in Manitoba, outdoor sports, that have gotten a small green light: golf, tennis, a few others that have seen a little bit of a ray of sunshine to maybe get back on the course or court, I guess, in the world of tennis. But yeah, we're unfortunately still not one of the early ones. We're probably going to be one of the later ones, that being that sort of the nature of basketball being relatively, I guess, considered an intimate sport. You're very close quarters with people and sharing the same piece of equipment of a basketball and whatnot. So yeah, it's mainly the what do we do until then? Then could be a month, it could be a year from now, and we really don't know. So our goal is to keep our sport association somewhat as fluid as we can, both financially and just communication wise. And that's really the biggest things we're being able to maintain right now is to keep people aware and I guess informed of what's happening. A few things I just mentioned, but also what they can do in the interim to stay. It could be mentally active in the game, learning new techniques, learning new opportunities, and also taking advantage of a lot of the work at home kind of things, which many sports have, to stay somewhat physically active as best you can, still in a at home quarantine kind of controlled environment, but then but also to have those small opportunities to somewhat stay in touch with basketball.
There has to be some other activity. There's always activity that lends itself to basketball. I think of when I go back in the Wayback Machine with you, Adam, here to talk about the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, and finding something to aim at 100 times, or if you do something 10,000 times, you become a master at it. Well, I'm pretty sure there's probably hundreds of kids looking forward to warmer weather ahead, practicing jump shots or free throw shots in their home yard or in their backyard, and maintaining that safe distance, of course. And we can't really practice the Stockton Malone transitions or the 91 Pistons the way they used to play, but nonetheless, there are still individual activities that can be done, tips for shooting, footwork and examples like that available from Basketball Manitoba.
Yeah, we're, I guess, one of the few sports that you sort of can drive by on a lot of driveways and fronts of garage, where you can see a basketball hoop in the driveway or nailed to the front of the garage. So for those that do have, of course, that's a great chance to get out and get somewhat active. We've actually launched this last month a series on YouTube, on our YouTube page, called Driveway Drills. We've got, I think, 6 of them up right now, or basically one-person shooting games. So you're not just out there, I guess the term is shoot around or just do whatever, but there's certain things that are either set to time or set to a score, different patterns of shooting that you can challenge yourself. So if you people head to our website or go to YouTube and search Basketball Manitoba Driveway Drills, you'll see a chunk of them. We're adding new ones every week. Again, of just little different things to keep it somewhat stimulated, so it's not just out there playing a horse or doing something a little more casual. Again, that's still enjoyable. Also taking the ball to an outdoor court. This has been somewhat of a contentious topic we've been dealing with over the last few months, is sort of that outdoor courts. And as the weather gets nicer and nicer into the summer, the draw is to get outside and be active, which in a normal sense, any other time of our lives would be say, yeah, go for it and be stay out as long as you can until the street lights come on kind of mentality. It's a little tougher now, of course. There are the City of Winnipeg and a couple other RMs around Manitoba, including some school divisions, not all of them yet, have been slowly creaking the door open to say their playgrounds, which a lot of them have basketball courts, have been reopening. I mentioned this last time we talked. It's one of those spaces that technically it's hard to actually close, and you're not putting up fences and taking setting up surveillance cameras and whatever. It's purely just more just to say that these are off limits, and expecting people to respect that, to of course to help the entire health situation get a little better, not make things worse. So they've been slowly creeping them open. But just because they're open doesn't mean it's full out and everybody go back and playing full 5-on-5, sweat on me, sweat on you kind of basketball. The requirement to still have that social distancing in effect is still there. Touching, using the same basketball where there's multiple different people, touching the same ball is not ideal. So really, it's if you're out at a court and you're by yourself or within your own little family bubble, or however you define it, the people you're quarantining with, that's all good. But it's still keeping our distance. Ideally, your driveway is best, if that's a choice, but secondary, the local court. Again, find out from your local RM or city or school division. Don't just assume that you see somebody out there that it's okay. But keep aware of the news and stay safe, of course.
You talk about being safe there, and it's most importantly, Adam, to maintain that. With all the resources that are available, you mentioned the YouTube series that's going on. It's a lot different shooting at the beginning of a 24 shot clock than at the end of it, especially when the game is on the line. I'm pretty sure a lot of kids always will try to emulate their favorite player and count it down 3, 2, 1, and then let her fly. And whether it bounces like Kawhi's shot or whether it hits the back of the net like MJ, they all go down, right?
Just that was the nice thing. I think that was just on Monday, or early this week, the 1 year anniversary of the shot. The shot heard around the world. It still gives me goosebumps to watch that. So
I'm still amazed how it hits the front rim and it goes over the front rim to the back rim, and then jingle jangles around, bobs around like Jay Leno's head, and then it falls through.
It was like a bad 90s movie of some sports, like, I don't know, Teen Wolf, I think, is the one that comes to mind, with Michael J. Fox, where he's a wolf playing basketball, and all of a sudden then it's that last second shot that, again, they probably take 50 takes to choreograph to get it to bounce and bounce and bounce. And it was pretty crazy to see how that played out last year. So
exactly, it was about a year ago yesterday, I think, or this past week. So nonetheless, a very probably will live in Raptors history as probably one of the best shots ever made. So definitely
we'll
leave it at that. Speaking of, we talk about webinars, we talk about coaches clinics. There's a big one coming up starting next week on the 18th. It's a 10-day long clinic. You said it's the Quad C, we've called it.
Sure, the 4 C's, or I don't really want to, but anyways, it's the Cross Canada Coaches Clinic. It's being run by 2 Canadian coaches that do a lot of clinics like this across Canada. Chris Oliver and Tanner Brightman, their names are, who are coordinating it. So far, this is across Canada. There's over 2,000 coaches that have signed up to join this. It's 100% free. It's run over a 10-day period, the 18th to the 28th of May. Starts up this Monday. And it's 100% online, 100% free. And they've got basically, I would say, the who's who of Canadian coaches. Jay Triano being probably the biggest keynote that would draw some attention. Former Raptor coach. He's with with Charlotte, I believe, as an assistant coach. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's there. Plus a number of other NBA connected coaches. Roy Rana, who's an assistant with the Sacramento Kings, also involved with the national team program. Locally, we've got Kirby Shep, who's the University of Manitoba coach, also coach of Canada's junior national team and cadet national teams, even younger teams over the last number of years, doing a presentation along with John Giesbrecht, who's another Manitoba coach. He's an assistant coach right now at the University of Regina, but a young up-and-coming coach that's got a lot of good content. So it is in that webinar format, and it's as it's being promoted as it's built for Canadian basketball coaches by Canadian coaches. So it's 100% free. The link is on our website, basketballmanitoba.ca, for any coach out there. And again, for any level, it's got a good wide range of content that's out there. really any level of coach or even aspiring coach, this is another opportunity out there for, say, a younger player who's maybe looking to get involved in coaching over the next coming years to take advantage of that. So it's not exclusively just to coaches. Anybody out there who wants to get a little bit more insight onto the sport of basketball, how they can become an efficient and effective coach, definitely take advantage of it. There's 50 different sessions, so it's 50 coaches providing 50 different sessions, 5 per evening. And if you sign up, you can watch them live. You can watch them after the fact too, so you don't have to be glued to your screen. But definitely, if you sign up in advance, you get access to them after the fact. If you miss signing up, you miss the sort of, I guess, the online archive of that. So even if you're only going to catch a couple of them, sign up, and it's definitely the coaching event in Canada for the summer. I don't see anything else this big coming anytime soon.
You mentioned some big names there, like you said, Jay Triano, man that's been in basketball for decades, knows the game in and out professionally and from the amateur and from the national, international standpoint as well. So a lot of great resources there for coaches. I think that's a fantastic thing to do, especially during a time like this when coaching clinics and whatnot would be traveling or being seen in a live aspect, not just a classroom, but on a basketball court. But we're trying to do our best we can to get that knowledge out to all basketball members. We'd be in the middle of playoffs now professionally, Bill or Adam. What do you miss most? I mean, we talked about the Raptors. Have you been, before I get to that, we won't even talk about playoffs because, I mean, if it happens, it happens. It's going to take 2 or 3 years to adjust to whether or not LeBron will get his ring or whatever. But I got to ask you this question. Have you been watching The Last Dance?
I have been, and loving it. Again, some great memories from. I wasn't the biggest Bulls fan back in the 90s. There, I was more early days of the Pistons and early days of the Utah Jazz that were sort
You're
of.
You're built more like a Lame Beers and
yeah, I play like
kind of guy, you know,
more than Michael Jordan or Scottie Pippen style for sure.
Yeah,
but it's a super story. Well done. I love how it's not just on that last season or the last dance, as they like to have called it, the 1998 season. It's definitely the biopic on Michael Jordan, as much as there's still different elements of his supporting cast and the coaches and all the people around that. But it's definitely interesting to see, especially some of the sort of unseen footage of him and in his early days, and how it's just put together. I think it is like it has its drama pieces to it, and it's like, tune in next week where we'll see this, and you may know the outcome, you may know the story, broad picture stories, but yeah, it's super to see, and I'm glad that they were able to. I think it wasn't scheduled to kind of go out now. It was probably going to be coming out, I'm not even sure when, but I know it was sped up mainly because of this sort of starvation that we're all feeling for sports. And even though it's not live, it definitely gives you that sort of element. And again, I think it's neat to see, because there's lots of today's basketball players that may walk around with the Jordan emblem, the Jumpman silhouette on their shoe or a t-shirt or whatever, and may not really know the story of who he was. You can obviously do your Googling and searching and whatever. There's no shortage of that information, but I think it's opened up probably another level of appreciation, and even just the and I saw ESPN put out there, and of course this is always controversial because it's an opinion piece, who their top 10 NBA players of all time were, and of course he leads that pack. You can always debate numbers 2 through 10 and beyond, and every sport you can say that with best hockey players, best football players, best baseball player all time. Yeah. It's always an opinion piece, but this sort of adds another little buzz. I guess this shows the starvation that the society's feeling with sport right now.
Exactly. It shows how much we miss sport and the new headlines. I'm not going to talk about what's on television quickly, but I mean, you'd see like it's hours upon hours of when is sport coming back? And we're not just talking about basketball, we're talking about every sport, amateur and professional. When is it coming back? We don't know. We can only see it's hours of speculation. And with The Last Dance, there is no speculation. What you get the storylines and the behind the storylines of, Horace Grant and why Scotty didn't play the first half year, and how Dennis got a 7-day pass to Las Vegas, and you know,
I think it was a 3-day pass.
It was
I
a
think
2-day to 7-day
but
pass.
he made it to a 7-day.
I mean, like
Which,
Michael Jordan knocking on his door and Carmen Electra's hiding. I'm like,
right.
you know, like it's stuff that storybooks would be, you know, it would be written and like it's just amazing how this is put together.
Yeah, really well done. I've heard the similar thing, and I'm sure it's not going to come out anytime soon. It maybe, and it's sort of a bit more of a dubious one. Would be I've heard that Kobe Bryant had done the same in his last year of playing, where he basically had a film crew follow him around and sort of to document his last year and how he was sent off and maybe sort of ended on. Sometimes I guess you like to end on your own note, but sometimes injury or age has a different opinion of when you should be hanging it up. So I anticipate that probably to be. And maybe sort of tied, unfortunately, to the sad anniversary of his passing or whatever in the next year. But those kind of things, and it sort of also like I've been sort of reliving some of the other awesome series of the 30 for 30s or other sport documentaries that maybe I watched 10 years ago. Hoop Dreams, there's a whole whack of them out there, and these nice little interesting stories. And usually they're most of those documentaries are done so well and put a little human face and sort of it's not just a stat line or just a head and shoulder shot of a person. It actually shows that this person is a person and has their trials and tribulations and what they worked, how hard they worked to get to where they were. And guys like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant are examples of that. It doesn't just happen overnight. Hopefully that gives you some perspective for a younger player who says, I want to be like Mike, or I want to be like Kobe, or whoever, or fill in the blank of your star. And really it's not just natural talent. It helps that you've got athletic ability and talent and height and length and speed, all that kind of stuff comes somewhat naturally for some, but it's hard work. And being at the right place at the right time and staying in school and staying focused on your outcomes and not being tempted by things that may pull you aside, different addictions or different circles of negativity that you may get pulled into. So yeah, it's definitely inspiring.
I was looking for my book just now. I'm trying to find Tim Grover's book called Relentless. And Tim was MJ's and Kobe's personal trainer. And
he's been on that.
Episode 8, I think he talks about how he had to transform a baseball body back into a basketball body.
Right.
And Tim is like, he is minds above a lot of trainers out there and what he was doing back in the day. And it's just amazing what Michael did. I mean, be like Mike, and you don't want to be like Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd like to have the highlights of Mike, but
sure, of course.
Work ethic. He talks about being nothing and working 9 years to getting to where they were. And, you know, the second three-peat was like, you guys are riding on the coattails of what we did. You have no business taking any type of, you're not a part of that. That's not you. That was me.
Yeah.
That was the team I had. Now you want to work? Let's work. And
work hard,
he just pushed. Like he was relentless. I think that's you don't throw that word often around with a superstar. Coming from knowing how to work and be better and make better and progress. Young kids should really emulate that work ethic. And I think a lot of kids that are watching this or seeing this Last Dance who weren't around Michael like you and I were are seeing the amount of effort that's needed.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Glad. And the only thing I'm disappointed on is that I think it's was it 8 episodes are out so far?
We have 2 more left this week.
Only 2 left, and by Monday it's all over. So
yeah, I know. It's like, you you can't do a second part because I mean, there wasn't anything taped back in '98, but it's definitely amazing what they were able to capture in that.
And it's been this long, and it's been really this long that most of the content really never saw the light of day.
It never leaked out.
Amazing, that it has been almost over 25 years here since most of that happened, or pushing that number. But yeah, hopefully, I know I'm as much as like there's certain other sports that maybe you don't follow as much, or like I'm drinking anybody. But if there was other stories that were done sort of told in a similar way of other sport figures, I think that kind of model of a documentary, like a 10-hour documentary. But that's broken out sort of as a weekly series, I think is a really neat model.
Well, it's what if outside of not having professional live sports, it's something we definitely needed because it's being watched by millions around the world. And, coming from your mindset, being a basketball person yourself, Adam, I think you'd have as many great memories as I would watching those teams. And I know you were a Pistons fan, like you said. I was a Bulls fan growing up. And I can remember when MJ and Sir Charles faced in the finals. I remember telling the flight attendant the Bulls are winning in 6 as I'm leaving Mesa, Arizona. They weren't too happy with me wearing my MJ jersey on the plane.
I bet.
that was an interesting night, let me tell you. But Adam, I'd love to thank you very much for taking some time today. And again, www.basketballmanitoba.ca. Check out the coaching clinic. Like you said, it starts on the 18th of May. It runs great resources. The webinars is there. I'm looking forward to checking out the basketball series that's on the YouTube. So again, thanks for giving us the insight, and we look forward to chatting with you again the next month there, Adam.
Always good, Theo. Stay safe. We'll talk again.
Forever. Adam Wedlake, Executive Director, Basketball Manitoba, keeping us up to speed with what's going on in the basketball world. Thank you for joining me. Have a great rest of the day.